First off, let me say good afternoon. As you can see, I'm currently at work, and I hope that all of you guys are doing well. Now, I understand that there's been some questions about my leaving Florida and leaving Layla in what was considered probably one of the worst times of her life, her mom passing. I want people to understand that when I left, I did not know that her mom was going to the hospital. I did not know that she was having surgery. Layla and I were having some issues communicating and finances. I understand what I'm saying. This is not blaming her in the least, because she wasn't even fully aware of the situation, same as me, until she found out her mom was having that operation. By the time I found out about what was going on, I was already halfway to Tennessee. Now, I'm going to start talking about the situations that I had going on while I was there. Now, for some of those folks that think that I came in, or you might have an opinion about why I probably moved in with Layla, I want you to understand for one thing. Before I moved in with Layla, I had my own house. I had my own car, which was paid off, which was working at the time. I had been with a company for 3 years working security, which is a career field that I chose and that I love. I'm very good at it. Right now, as you can see, this is what I'm doing, and I'm very good at it. When I bought my house about 2 years ago, it was July of 2019, I could not predict that COVID was going to take over and just start running things into the ground. At the time, for the career for being in security, it was a good thing because the company that I was working for had taken a FEMA contract for all the COVID-19 testing sites. I was a supervisor over the COVID-19 warehouse, making at least $20 an hour. And I would come down and visit Layla every weekend, so on. Somewhere along the line, we decided that it would be a good idea for me to move in, because I ended up getting transferred down to Southwest Florida because they needed a supervisor to run the COVID-19 testing sites down there. Unbeknownst to me and every other officer that was a mainstay there, some that had been there 5-6 years, I had been there for 3. The name of the company was Veteran Security. The contract was cut with the state only allowing the officers to know 11 hours and 45 minutes exactly that that our services were no longer needed. They were shutting down all the test sites. So here I'm thinking that I would be going back to what I was doing before, doing my patrol, checking on officers and so on. That wasn't the case. What ended up happening was a bunch of us got furloughed. We weren't fired because the owner of the company, who made $10 million off of that contract, and I actually saw the contract myself because the guy that wrote it showed it to me, turned around and hired new employees to cover the contracts that we already had, and was paying them less money. He was paying them between $11 and $12 an hour, where he was cutting them out of the salaries that we were making at $20 and $17 an hour. Now, fast forward. No problem. I'm good at finding another job. I'll go out and get another one. Landed another job. First Coast Security. Again, the situation with COVID was an issue. Hours got cut. It's no sooner than I wasn't even there, probably 2 months. Furloughed. Me and a bunch of other officers. And up until last week, I was just called to come back. I'm in Tennessee now. Making $15 an hour, working 12-hour shifts. I haven't had a day off since I've been here. I haven't had a day off since last week. and I'm not complaining about it. I just lost my train of thought. The bottom line is this. For those of you who thought that I was just there to take advantage of Layla, that was the thing that was the furthest thing that happened. For those of you that thought that I just up and ran out, understand this. There are things that she and I were going through that I am not going to disclose because honestly and respectfully, it's none of your business. But I made an irrational decision, and an emotional one at that, based on the circumstances that were going on at the time. Now, again, I'm not blaming Layla because Layla never asked me to leave. But I did not know that the seriousness of what was going on because we were having issues communicating at the time. Now, there's nothing in the world I would not do for that woman. Nothing. And I think that it's unfair for people to pass judgment or to speculate or to give their opinion without at least hearing both sides. And up until recently, and some of you, I know, just look out for her because of things that she's gone through. I fully understand that. All I'm asking is that you try to understand from my point of view. I was not in a position or a career field that would guarantee me any kind of safety or protect me from what was going on at that time, which being COVID. It took out a number of jobs, and I take that back. There was one job that I did quit while I was there, and that was working for the prison. The reason why I quit that one is because it was discovered that they were allowing people to come to work with COVID. And when I found out about it, I had just left her mom and dad. Now, mind you, the way that I was thinking about this was, one, her mom has got a pre-existing condition. If that surgery took her out, God knows what would have happened if I had given her COVID. And by the way, this person that had it was in my classroom for 2 weeks, and nothing was said until people started getting sick. And then the lead instructor from another class came over and pulled her out of the classroom, and then he explained to us why that happened. About 2 weeks later, I ended up testing positive for COVID. I ended up with it. I had 103 fever. By the time I started getting over it, Layla caught it, and then the kids caught it. Thank God her parents didn't. Now, some of you are probably asking the question, well, why didn't you just go get tested and just stay at the prison? I've always been a person to give my loyalty to people that are going to take care of, that look out for me. This job, if my boss is here right now, she'd tell you I have done everything possible for her because she gave me an opportunity to go further in my career field than I've gone with a previous company. I had to leave the other company because they were allowing me to work without a license, which could have got me fined and a year in jail. This is the kind of stuff that I deal with on this side of the fence. And here's the difference when you guys make a judgment call about, well, he can't keep a job. Layla's job field is secure because the only way you're getting out of that job is unless you get fired or you leave. Keep in mind, I was never fired. I did leave one. Layla works for the federal. Works federal. I work for private owners. There is no guarantee that I would still be working or anything else. And some of you are probably saying, yeah, you can get unemployment. I was receiving it. And when the state decided to cut it off, I wasn't getting it anymore. So I was running around trying to find jobs left and right. And it wasn't for my lack of trying. I even applied to the VA. I was told by one particular VA police officer to bring my resume in. And he would run it up the chain, and I should hear something back. So I would call and check on it. And eventually I got an answer. Wasn't the answer I was looking for. The officer that answered the phone told me, I don't know who told you you can just give a resume and think that you can get it. Well, yeah, I kind of figured that, but this is what the guy told me, so that's what I did. I figured that maybe he might be able to help me out and get into this. The guy was very rude about it. Okay, so that's a little discouraging. I move on. I was looking left and right for jobs at the VA, or any job that is federal at this point. I mean, I have a background in logistics. I was a 92 Alpha, supply logistics in the military. I was looking all over the place for jobs like that. Heck, I was even looking for a job as a forklift operator. Nothing. Everybody was shutting down. Or they were reducing their staff. Some of you might know what I'm talking about because it probably happened to you too. But I turned around and I kept working. I left the prison, found another security job that paid me more money. I was driving 2 hours to work and 3 hours back home every day. Working 12-hour shifts. I would go to work at 8 o'clock at night and I'd get home till 8 o'clock in the morning. Well, I'd get off till 8 o'clock in the morning, would get home to almost like damn near 12 o'clock in the afternoon. That's how long it took me to get back home. That was out in Bradenton. Talked to my supervisor. Let him know that Layla and I had a vacation coming up. It was already prepaid for. Told him 30 days in advance, as a matter of fact. And then 2 weeks before I got ready to leave, I called and checked to make sure that job was, that everything was okay before I left. Turn around. When I got back from the vacation, I got a phone call. Your services are no longer needed. And no explanation why. Or at least not a valid one. So that was a loss. From there, it just got worse. I kept looking for jobs to the equivalent to what I was making. Eventually, I got so desperate, I took a job at a 7-Eleven making $12 an hour. And at that point right there, I was so disgusted and I was so frustrated because when you're bringing home a paycheck that is only $600 every 2 weeks, that's not covering anything. I felt guilty about that. I felt bad about that. And as I explained to Layla, she doesn't know how many hours, or she would wonder why I would wake up so early in the morning, or sometimes not go to bed till late at night because of things that were just running through my head about why I couldn't get something done. I worried about that. I try my best to do everything for her. I try my best to look out for those people that look out for me. And make no mistake about it, I love this woman with all my heart. I've never been in love with anybody like I've been in love with her. And all I'm saying is, from what I'm hearing, some of you are being pretty hard on me. The part about me leaving, I'll own that one. I own that all the way. And for those of you sit back and saying, good, you should, well, that tells me a little more about you. So this message really is to let you know that despite what you think, and like I said before, if you feel a certain kind of way about it, personally and respectfully, it is not your business. You can express your thoughts to later, but just know that she does tell me. And some of it, I've been around you folks and you smiled in my face as if, oh yeah, he's good, I like him. But the second that something got hard for me, the second that I fell, oh, he's just like all the other bums out there. Now that's my opinion on it. You may not be saying that. But some of you, I know for sure that that's what you're thinking. And if that's the case, you're entitled to your opinion. And honestly, I'm really trying to hold back from being as angry about this as I have been, because again, if you haven't walked in my shoes and been through the things that I've been through in my life, and see, the only other person that knows about some of the things that have been in my life, what you guys don't know, is what Layla and I used to talk about when we were in the military. Both of us have had it rough. You think that she was the only person that had a terrible spouse that did some things to her? Ask her about mine. If it wasn't for her, my career probably wouldn't have ended the way that it did. Trust me. I went through just as much as she did. As a matter of fact, I got 6 stitch marks right across here from her. That's one thing Layla and I have in common. We wanted our marriages to work so bad that we stayed in bad situations. So I think I've explained my side of it. I feel that this is probably something, and this video is actually intended so when you guys do have questions, then I hope this answers it. But again, I don't want people to think that I just came there, took advantage of her. I'm still trying to take advantage of her, or I'm trying to move back in with her because, her mom passed and I have to pay less or something like that. First off, if you knew me, when I got my very first paycheck from one of the first jobs that I got, I gave Layla the entire check. I didn't take a dime out for myself. I knew she had already paid the bills, and then she didn't really have much left over to do anything for herself, so I gave her my entire check. And honestly, if she needed it and I had it, I would have given it to her again. There's never been a time where I've ever told Layla no for anything unless I just didn't have it. And that hurt me more than anything else, is to be able to tell her, no, I don't have it right now. So with that being said, again, I'm trying to be respectful, and I'm asking you to do the same for me. Before you pass judgment on me or give an opinion that you feel or you deem is necessary to express because of your dislike for what I did. Again, I understand being upset about me leaving, but I explained that part earlier in this video, that if I was aware of what would happen, I would never have left. If I was fully aware of it, I would never have left. I would have stayed there. I would have been there for her, and I would have covered her. I would have done as much as I possibly can to comfort her. But again, you guys don't know exactly what happened between me and her before I left. And again, it's not your business. There was communication. There was a communication problem that we had going on. And there were some other issues. But nothing that should have warranted me leaving the way that I did.